this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. I'm Mike Kinney, your host. Do me a personal favor. Like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. Hit us up on all the social media and tell your friends. In our episodes, we look under the hood, all the cool stuff going on in car culture and racing and manufacturers and products. Okay, I just have to warn everybody in advance, just kind of grab your favorite soft drink, coffee, whatever you're doing today, a cold one. Sit down in your recliner because I have no idea how the show's going to go. I've had the pleasure of announcing NHRA for many, many years. Well, our guest today is Mark Beatty, and he's with Redline Oil. He's also an NHRA announcer. He was Bandamere for many, many years. He is the brand and marketing director for Redline's synthetic oil. You talk about name dropping. Before that, he was V-Gains, the V-Gains in Denver, Colorado. And when he was in high school, he worked for Bandamere Performance, and eventually he's at the track. His first race car was a 63.5 Ford Falcon Sprint. He's been married over 30 years, got two amazing sons and 4 grandchildren. We are thrilled to have him with us. Mark, come on down, as they like to say in TV land. How you doing this morning, brother?
Listen to that, and I'm feeling really old.
I tell everybody, and we go, man, we really like your hair color. I said, well, at least I'm catching up to it now, And just
yeah, I was like going, I think you and me have the same barber. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just we could be mirror images of each other here. Right? So.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So it was funny when we were talking before the show started. We're kind of thinking it's like, man, everybody better put on their seatbelts because. It's like we could plan out this show all we want, but I'm telling you, it ain't going there.
It ain't gonna go. No. Yeah, you get me near a microphone, especially somebody like you. I'm the king of tangent pilots. We're going to take a left turn in Albuquerque. There's Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, that's awesome. But hey, thank you very much for thinking of me and having me on. It was really cool last year when you had the chance to stop by our SEMA booth. And,
yes, sir.
I know that I think we got Cruz Petragon talking with you. I think Steve Torrance was there. Yes, then you got Roy Howell.
Yeah.
Our science. It was really cool. It was awesome seeing you there. So
well, thank you very much for bringing it up. We really appreciate the hospitality. And for the viewers, some of you get your SEMA credentials. Now there's lots and lots and lots of booths at SEMA. But if you want to see some of the celebrity, the stars in this space, a bunch of the racers, you stop by Redline. You guys kind of had a standing room only thing going on there, dude. I mean, there's all these racers waiting in line to take turns to sit down and do autographs, and very, very good job, man. That's like herding a lot of cats.
We've talked about it before, and it's like, I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. A lot of people ask me about this, that, or the other thing, and I always tell them, besides my family, the greatest thing I have in my life is my friend network and my associate network, and it's just, man, it is awesome. And we kind of started this kick a couple of years ago. Team Redline Oil. We all have our little armbands and all the posts that we do is all about Team Redline Oil. And,
perfect.
It was just really cool. TJ Zizzo sent me a message this morning, and because obviously they're back in Indy at the Big Go, and
yep.
Every week, what I try to do with racers in all forms of racing is on Thursday, I'll send them all a text message and just say, hey, be safe, have fun, do good and enjoy the moment. And, TJ sends me one back and says, man, it's incredible to be a part of your team, Team Redline Oil. And to me, that's, that's what it is, because we're all just a group of people trying to do something we like and trying to feed our families and stuff.
We're trying to take care of business. So for the king of segue, and he said, this is what we're all about. Well, we have a video here of what Redline is all about. Hey, Rick, hit that play button, buddy. I chuckle. This is an amazing commercial to begin with. Great job with the production, y'all. Is that, and I've shared with my neighbors and my fellow hot rod buddies, I says, Redline is so much more than just racing oil, right? You've got a whole product line. And we got a couple of pictures we can pull up now of some of the different products. And hey, I bet that's where you kind of hang out, huh?
You know, I do. I'm actually officed in Houston, and that's our warehouse in Benicia, California. But
Perfect.
yeah, I'm there often. There's no doubt about that.
Perfect. Yeah. Kind of dig it. And for the viewers, when you go to different events, you're going to see a display like this. And Mark, people got to come by and say howdy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This particular one is at one of the Redline Oil NMCA events, and we got a guy Art Kendrick that is just such an amazing human being, and Art usually heads to all the Redline Oil NMCA events, and that's our buddy Dave. Dave kind of heads up our power sports unit, so
cool.
you'll find Dave in that display at most all the National Enduro and the Enduro Motorcycle Series events.
Beautiful. And I love performance when you need it, right? So again, you guys are on such a spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a new social campaign that we just kicked off, just telling people social where you need it. And it allows us a great opportunity to bring in some of our partners. This one's Old Hull Performance and kind of showcase some of the things that we carry. And, we call that one the OG. That's our original gangster WaterWetter.
Really?
So actually the very first product that Redline ever made was a 2-stroke motorcycle oil, but the OG WaterWetter wasn't too far behind.
Goodness. So you, because I first saw it, I thought it was a typo. So it's WaterWetter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how many times, when you're writing this out, it's just such a habit. You end up putting 2 T's in water as well. So it's like your computer beeps at you and says, that ain't right.
So before we jump, Rick, back up that picture real quick. So for the viewers, Mark, so this actually helps the engine run cooler?
Yeah, in simplified terms, in your cooling system, it makes big water bubbles small, and if a water bubble is if a bubble in water is smaller, of course, it's going to have better cooling. So, our original WaterWetter right here is designed. It works best when used on track in distilled water, because when you're racing, they don't want you to use any antifreeze and stuff, because if there's ever a leak, it's horrible to clean up.
Yes,
so the original WaterWetter definitely works in antifreeze, but it was originally designed to work in distilled water for track use.
I'll be dang. Very cool. So we got
now we actually now we actually have a coolant that has antifreeze in it with WaterWetter that we call it super cool. So anyway.
I'm digging it. So for the viewers, in case you need like an extra large jug, well, we got some options here.
Yeah, that's a couple of cans of our Nitro 70,
Nice.
which is by far a pretty special product, to say the very least, and stuff. So that's a racer taking it out of a drum and getting ready to head to the racetrack.
Yee-hee.
Yeah,
I'm digging it. So you see that rolling down the road, you just need to follow them to wherever they're going, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's our power sports activation unit again. So it's really, like I said, Dave and Lisa cruise that thing around the country for us, and man, they do a great job.
Fantastic. And having that team. So for the viewers, I warned you once, I'm going to remind you again. Odds are we're not going to be done in 30 minutes. Mark and I talked about this, because essentially he and I could talk for half an hour to 45 minutes about potato chips. It'd be enjoyable discussion, at least for the two of us. But before you and I have more fun, among the people I'm so thankful you introduced me to, and all joking aside, in your booth at SEMA last year, was Roy Howe. What an incredible guy. So we've got a snippet of that interview. Would you like to share with the viewers? Because he's got some great insight on red light oil.
I've been coming to this SEMA show since 1987.
Wow.
And everything has changed. It used to be, it was all right here in this one little central hall.
That was it.
We drove our little van, parked it in the parking lot for the weekend. Redline was started back in 1979 by 2 individuals, really interesting guys. One of them was a chemist, and the other one was an amateur motocross racer. Difference, when you get into racing. you'll see the difference on the dyno. You'll see the difference in the engine, durability.
Wow. Okay.
It is definitely a noticeable, and that's basically where we get our, feedback. So we'll basically make products, get essentially the same product that you're going to drive on the street into the racing equipment and evaluate it, and see if does it shift right, does it prevent wear, does it give you the proper durability. I mean, that's basically what Redline has focused on. And we kind of got started just because in the beginning there were a couple of other synthetic oil companies, but they weren't involved in the performance world. They were selling to the big market, the automotive world.
You bet.
But they didn't focus on performance world. So Redline's idea was, we're going to basically go after the racing world and use that as our test bed, and and work into the automotive marketplace with our racing products.
Wow. And for the viewers, I'm talking to Roy, and he's getting into all this pi r squared and kcar round and the elasticity. And I'm going, okay. It was just, but yeah. So he's been at this a while.
I tell Roy that all the time. Hey, dude, do me a favor, dumb it down for me, okay? Use some words that I can pronounce.
Yeah. Something less than 5 syllables would be commendable, right? Now, for the viewers, you heard about when Roy's saying prove it on the dyno. I got a couple of notes, and you're going to recognize his name. Dominic, is it Selzy? Is that it? And he's in sprint cars. No joke, viewers. He does a post that he's racing. There's X amount of laps left in a sprint car race, and essentially you're like flat out running sideways. They realize they have a hole in the bottom of the housing for the differential, so all of the heavy shock-proof gear oil is gone. They say, okay, there's only a few laps left. We know we haven't got time to replace all this. Let's just go race it. He raced 3 cautions and 28 green laps later, won the race, and there wasn't even any discoloration on the gear set. I mean, and Mark, I read that twice, and okay, this kind of sounds like one of those, just wives' tales somewhere, but this is the real deal, right, buddy?
Yeah, and to help, I don't know if it helps qualify that or not or whatever, but read the last name again, and then put the name Gary in front of it, and if you don't recognize the NHRA funny car champion Gary Selzy, Dominic is Gary's son.
Oh, very cool.
And so it's
Gary's
obviously
a cool guy.
it's a racing family, and Dominic is one of the guys on Team Redline Oil, and he's one of the ones like Roy said that every once in a while we kind of create something new or something different, and we send it his way, and we say, hey Dominic, make some laps for us and stuff. So, but heavy duty shock proof, our differential grease. I mean, it's what basically every. I hate to use the term every, but I'm just allowing me to use, it's what every fuel car out there runs, and it's the pro mod guys love it and stuff. And so it's kind of it's like our Nitro 70. It's a very, very, very unique animal. It's not just a thicker this or a thicker that. The chemistry behind it is.
This is all that unique. Chemicals back to pi r squared and kcar round discussion. Okay.
That's all Roy's junk. I just like it because it's pink. So when it leaks out, it's just pink. It's like,
so we got a couple of pictures of competition. I got to laugh. Mark Mark goes, well, check out Facebook, and we could have pulled in hundreds of photos. So this is just a sample. Obviously, you got to hook up with these guys. So there is a race team getting serious, getting ready to dump a whole bunch of your good product in their engine.
Yeah, that's cruisers, guys, and stuff like that. So Cruz has been on Team Redline Oil for a long, long time for us, and he had a great car show and open house last night. Beautiful. And they've been sending me all kinds of pictures and stuff. But yeah, they're pouring in some Nitro 70 right there.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Digging it.
Yeah,
I think that's Cruiser, isn't it?
That's it. There's Cruiser. More recognizable version, and stuff. It's like. So I laugh at him all the time. It's like he can walk down the street and nobody knows who he is, but everybody knows his race car.
And I think this is a shot at Bandamere. And Mark, you had the pleasure to announce there for many years. I'm so jealous of that history. I would have loved to have the opportunity to be in the tower with you.
Oh man, it was phenomenal, and like a lot of the racetracks where the announcing tower, the VIP tower, is actually behind the starting line. You know, when jet cars ran like that, when the jet cars were doing their burner pop, it's like you couldn't help but put your hands on the plates of glass in front of you because you were convinced those plates of glass were going to friggin' cave in on you. You know, it was crazy.
Well, I was in Grand Junction, Colorado. This is pre-COVID, doing some work, and they had an 8th-mile drag strip up on top of this little mountain. And so they found out, and says, "Hey, you want to come up and be like our celebrity announcer?" I said, "Well, Mark's busy, so I'll try my best to fill in for him." So they brought up 2 little jet dragsters, and then tower was kind of beside the track for a spot. And so they go to burp, and they hit the throttles to take off, and they up in the little tower, they had a clock about 8 inches or so around. It blew it off the wall, and I looked at everybody, and I says, "We have confirmed time does fly at this drag strip here in Grand Junction, Colorado." Everybody went, "Oh my God." I says, "No." So we're just cursed as old announcers, man. Our brains are just wired different now.
I would announce at Kearney Raceway Park in Kearney, Nebraska, which the track is literally carved out of cornfields. I mean, there's cornfields on all 4 sides of it. So I'd always laugh and say, "I've never had so many ears listening to me when I announce."
That's high on the list of good now.
Most people had the exact same reaction you did. They're like going, "Somebody shut that guy up."
Well, Reinhardt, we're doing on the national events. I said, I got up early. I'm downstairs in my bunny slippers, and I got like 8 gallons of coffee all over the kitchen counter. And he looks at me and says, "I only got a 10-cup coffee maker, so we're just not sure how this all worked out." Then Alan does a stick about not feeding his cat and is trying to dig into the cabinets. So it pretty much goes downhill with all of us. It's just, it's in our weirdness. Hey, you talked about crews. Well, again, with the hospitality, our new bestest friends, or at least on our long list of bestest friends, short list, you know the drill. We did get a chance spending a little time with crews. So, Rick, hit that video. We had a chance
for the viewers, can you kind of summarize what it feels like on the tree when you hit that loud pedal and you're going to launch?
Well, you're talking 11,000 horsepower, and you're in a 2,500-pound car, so the power-to-weight ratio is like no other thing other than maybe a fighter jet or something like that. But but it's an adrenaline rush, and you know, as a driver, you're sitting back really where people would be in the back seat, so visibility is not great. But you know, your heart rate's up there about 150 beats a minute, and you're just hanging on. You do steer a lot. People think, oh, you just point them straight. Oh no, these cars want to go every which way but straight, and you want to keep it in the groove. But it's an adrenaline rush. Like I said, a lot of the drivers, they get out of the car and they're out of breath. That's because, you know, the acceleration and the G-forces. We pull about just under 5 Gs of acceleration down the track. So a lot of power, you know, like I said, 11,000 horsepower, man. It's been doing it for over 30 years, won 2 championships and a lot of races in between there. So yeah, but it's great to still be doing it after all these years, that's for sure. I used to think that you could put any oil in these cars and go down the track. That's not true. We have to have a specific oil. Redline is one of the best. Most of the top winning cars run the Redline, so recommend that for your own cars and different lubrications.
Yeah, you guys are among the, and I got such a kick, and I'm talking to Cruz. You know, we were in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia together, and so he starts. I said, well, look, you know, talk to the viewers about, you know, being inside that, you know, that funny car, and then he just jumps into how much he's so impressed with you guys' product, and he doesn't say it just to say it. He truly believes in it.
Yeah, once again, it just goes back to what I was saying. We're just fortunate. We got a great group of people around us, and people like Roy that are designing and developing things. It's like, you know, I have the best seat in the house. You know, I truly do. It's just freaking awesome. You know, it's like the teams we have out there. I mean, obviously, you know, Steve Torrance and the Capco boys. You know, Steve is just, he's become such a good friend and just one great human being. And, you know, I think about everybody at the Big Go. You know, we got Mike Salinas there, we got Lex Oon there, Doug Foley there, Pat Dakin, Larry Dixon, you know, TJ Zizzo. Like I said, it just the list goes on. You know, and Yeah, and I had the chance to talk yesterday. I called my buddy Scott Palmer. You know, Scott's a big part of Team Redline Oil, and obviously he had a pretty rough time in his nitro Studebaker. Yeah. You know, but it was good to talk to Scott, and Scott will be back. You know, he's shooting for sure for Dallas and things like that. So it's just like, yeah, it's just. It's awesome. It's crazy how it's grown and how it's taken off in the last couple of years, and it's just a credit to everybody involved. A lot of people working hard.
And Mark's talking about some racers. Well, we got a few pics of, again, we could add hundreds of pictures. So we grabbed a few of just some of the pics. Hey, there's Mike right now.
Yeah, there's my buddy Mike. Yeah. He is one in a million, and
yes,
man, just a great human being. Yeah, no doubt.
Amazing talent, loves to be on the throttle, and I am a huge fan of junior dragster programs. So well done, sir.
Well, once again, when we talk about announcing, for 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it was, I was the voice of the Western Conference Finals at Bannerman Speedway because we hosted them there. Yeah. And so I'd always take a week of vacation. I can remember announcing Leah Pritchett when she was there in her junior car, and Aaron Philpott. Aaron's got that killer Pro Mod Corvette now. I remember all these kids in their junior cars, but I agree. It's the heart and soul, and it tugs at my heartstrings as well with all of our junior teams that we have.
I had a ball as well announced them here in Vegas. Okay, we got a few more we can step through. Hello.
Yeah. How about old Chris Graves and the wicked car? Those guys are nuts. I don't know how else to, sorry. There's like 5 psychiatrists in the trailer when we get out of the winner's circle.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And so again, so you go the spectrum, and you have a whole series of the lubricants for motorcycles.
Yeah, that's Bruce Telfer, and Bruce, he's one of those guys that he's not quite as insane as Larry Spiderman McBride, but I'm telling you, he's dang close to it. But yeah, we have a complete lineup for all motorcycle and all power sports, and V twin stuff is huge. I'll let you in on a little known secret. Don't tell anybody, but our V twin oil, our 2050 V twin oil is almost our top selling product. So we have a huge presence in the Harley Davidson and the V twin world, because once again, Roy has developed a special formula, and so it's pretty killer. But
very cool. We got a few more here, and then we got a video now, and we're getting Lex on the show. I am in love with this guy and his wife. I guess I shouldn't say that out loud, but just what an amazing couple, an amazing story. Dude. So the last time he's doing a video conference with him as he's driving down the road in his semi-tractor trailer.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know how. If anybody that meets these two, if you don't fall in love with them, I don't know.
There's something wrong.
Talk about a guy. Yeah, just talk about a couple of people that are just simply trying to do the right thing in life, right?
Yes.
It's just
they have the love and the passion, and we will be getting Lex on the show. He goes, I can't wait tonight. So we got to make it happen. We got a few more here. Oh, nice. Whoa, here we go. Now you're talking the real need for speed, right?
Yeah, that's the Speed Demon crew. Steve Watt and that entire group, and that shot was taken. At Speed Week this year, was held early August, and so it was an abbreviated course. They only had a 3-mile course open and stuff. So the car only ran, and I laughed at this. Only ran a little over 333 miles per hour. And so so it did get them. They won the Hot Rod Trophy again this year. I think it's the 11th time that they've won the trophy, and it's so crazy. They have like 100, you'd think, whatever. It's probably like 5. They have 5 different motors or 6 different motors they put in this car during Speed Week to run all the different classes. Yep. So when they're dying, he had sent me some shots of the car, and it was so cool because they had the car on a wheel dyno. in a shop, a place called Redline Performance. No relation to us, but it's Redline Performance. So there's no body panels on the car. They got the hub dyno deals on the back or whatever, and they're dyno in a land speed record car. And it was just like, okay, that's something you don't see every day.
You don't see that every day. Well, we got a few more clips we can step through, and I really like this. That's an amazing tagline. When you know, you know.
That was our SEMA campaign last year, and we still use it. But yeah, you'd look at Richard Hogan and Bobby Lagana and Steve Torrance there and stuff. It's just like it's the Capco boys, pretty powerful group.
Pretty powerful group. We got a couple shots coming up here with Lizzie. We're going to talk about it. So there's her car, and I think we've got a shot of her holding up some of her little crocheted critters. So a big shout out and thumbs up to Lizzie. Can you give us a little insight, because she is an amazing person, and how she's dealing with some challenges in life is second to none.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, I've known her dad, Pat, forever, and Pat is a spectacular human being. Now, Pat is also one of those guys to where you either like him or you don't. There's not a lot of gray area with him and stuff. But he's like my buddy Bill Miller, at BME. Bill's either your greatest friend or you run when you see him coming your way. But Miss Lizzie, obviously, I think everybody knows by now is fighting a huge battle and a huge challenge in life, and she's getting treatment here in Texas. So when she comes to Texas, she'll come here with her mom, and so cool. Me and my wife Cindy will head over and help them out when we can. Just kind of run errands for them with them. We when they need it, we'll get them to the airport. And so, it's interesting. We were taking her to the airport, a little while back or whatever, and obviously we're just kind of talking to her about her treatments and this and that, and the young lady is just an open book when she talks about things. And I asked her, I says, man, Lizzie, I feel horrible because I feel like I'm asking all these questions because, I care about you and I want to know, but man, these questions have got to be hard. And she's like going, Mark, to be honest with you, it helps me to talk about it, so she says, just keep firing, and stuff. And so, so we did a couple-hour drive to the airport, and we just sat there and talked about the things that she was going through and what she was doing and how she was feeling. And
she mentioned on some of the feeds I've been following, said, same way drag racing is helping her. It gives her so you have to dwell on it all the time. So our big shout out to Lizzie. At some point in time, we got to get you on the show. You are an inspiration to anybody, and definitely everybody in the drag racing world. Before we go into more pictures, we got a video coming up. Okay, so you heard about 11,000 horsepower. How about 55,000 horsepower? That is not a typo. Hey, Rick, punch that one up.
When you tell people like, these cars make 10, 11,000 horsepower, they can't believe it. They just look at you like, what is wrong with you people? It's like going to like an AC/DC concert, Metallica, Iron Maiden, all rolled into one, and they're all playing at the same time, and you have no idea what's going on, and it's just like a violent piece of equipment, and we run these things so hard, and it puts a lot of wear and tear on the parts. And I'll never forget the first time we put the Redline oil in, and we drain it after we made it run, and it's like it looked the same, and we're all scratching our heads, well, how'd that happen? And then we put the heavy shockproof in the differentials. We couldn't believe how much better the ring and pinion looked. We immediately seen an increased life of parts. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And how we're going to do that is we're going to have the best of everything. And Redline oil is part of having the best of everything.
I love to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And again, for the viewers in the world of NHR, especially when you're up at that top fuel level, the nitro funny car level, thousandths of a second make all the difference. The repeatability, less wear, the way you can do things in the pit. So you guys check lots of boxes with your products, Haas.
Yeah, that video is a few years old, and Jimmo, at the time was with Coletta. Now Jimmo's with Rick Ware and Clay Milliken and stuff, and just same type of deal. Jimmo and I go back decades, more years than what we can remember and stuff. And so, it's so fun seeing those things. Now AJ's over there, in the Coletta camp and things like that. And so, but yeah, lots of changes, but it's a really fun video. It takes me back, that's for sure. Right? Anytime I can see Jimmo, he's one of the guys that texted me this morning too, or whatever. I was giving him some grief about something, and so it's
once again, the king of SEG was like Mark Beatty here. Beatty from Red Lion Oil. We have a couple early days photos. You said, well, I remember back in the early days. Well, I think I'm digging the pants, man. What is up with that?
That's my MC Hammer face, I guess. I ran Comp Eliminator with that. The guy in the picture is Joe Shalkowski. Him and his wife Nancy. They were. They lived in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and he was a true, when you talk about a rocket scientist, he was a true rocket scientist. And a really quick short story. One time we're down there working on the car. Like I said, we ran BED, and so we cruise over into the lab, and there was parts of the lab that he could get me in, and parts that he couldn't get me in. But they actually have a nuclear reactor in the lab in Los Alamos.
Yes, they do.
And it's crazy because it has a clear top on the nuclear reactor. And I'm not going to pretend I know what it's made out of. It's not glass or platinum. I don't know what it's made out of. But I actually stood on top of the nuclear reactor and watched the rods, kind of go up and down inside the nuclear reactor. So a lot of times people say, now we know what's wrong with you. So, I stood on top of a nuclear reactor.
I think we got one more picture here. And for the viewers, okay, this is not a typo. That is an amazing coat. But sitting on top of that jacket is a Wally. And so please share some insights, sir. That's breathtaking.
Well, my gosh. Way back when, I was fortunate enough to open up a signing graphic company. It was called Fineline Graphics in Denver, and that's the path that led me to an introduction with V Gaines and how V and I, our relationship came to be and stuff. And so at the time, I had a fine line here in Denver and made some friends, a guy by the name of Neil Britt and another one by the name of Joe Martinez. Anybody that's been around the world of cars for a while, they recognize both those names, both from Hot Rod Magazine and then from National Dragster. And so Neil and Joe both left National Dragster, and so we decided that, hey, let's open up a fine line location in Southern California. So we opened up a location at Brackett Field, which is the airport right next to the racetrack in Pomona. There's that industrial complex. And so we got together, we rented a space in that deal, and we opened up Fine Line Southern California. Well, it was about the exact same time that the NHRA, Steve Gibbs, and they decided they were going to open up that museum. And so Neil and Joe, kind of threw our hat in the ring. And so we were fortunate enough to where we did all of the graphics, all the murals, everything inside the NHRA museum when it opened up. And so I became acquainted with, and it turned into a really, really good friendship with Wally Parks through the whole deal, because everybody knows that museum was Wally's, that was his baby.
Hey, Mark, real quick, we had the pleasure of having the NHRA Museum on a few months ago. For the viewers, if you, it's got to be on your bucket list to go see it, right, brother?
Oh, man, there's just no doubt about that.
So real quick, how did you end up with the Wally Trophy?
Well, as we were finishing things up, Wally was begging to become partners with me in the Fineline in Southern California, and it just wasn't in the cards, things like that. So
Yeah.
so we were just about finished, and it was actually on his birthday. The date on the bottom of that Wally is signed on his birthday, and so if you take the badge off, he wrote me an incredibly nice note on the back side of the plaque that he signed. So, yeah, so it's just kind of like really, really, really special, really cool deal.
Cool deal. Talk about cool deal. We got really cool people. And again, I'm going full circle. I'm going back to SEMA. I'm going to Redline Oil Booth because it seemed like we spent most of the week. They gave me like a little tent so I could stay there. It was kind of handy. And I think we've got Scott coming up, and he's going to talk to you about Old Smoky, which is one bad truck. Hit that play button, Rick. Yeah.
I'm Scott Birdsall. I run Chuckles Garage in Santa Rosa, California, and I'm a professional racing driver. Driving Old Smoky is quite the experience. You look at the outside and it's this 70-year-old truck, and a lot of guys snicker at it, but at the track, you pass Porsches, Ferraris, track prepped, whatever you have. The power delivery is incredibly violent. You have this 6.7 liter Cummins that makes 1,400 horsepower. 1,000 of that it makes within like 600-700 RPM. So it's incredibly violent. You can smell your rear tires on fire. You smell the hot brakes, the vibrations. It's just the most violent thing you could possibly think of. Lots of throttle changes, 1,000 RPM to 6,000 RPM really quickly. Lots of tire spin, and it's really important that we have a good motor oil in the engine. So on Old Smoky, if it's got fluid in it, it's Redline. We use the heavy shockproof gear oil, the 50-weight race oil, their high-temp brake fluid, their bearing grease. Everything on the truck is Redline. It works so well. It holds the Pikes Peak diesel record. At Pikes Peak, you've got multiple things working against you. You've got altitude, you've got pressure changes, everything you can think of. It's 3 different worlds on the way up. And the Redline product stays consistent from the bottom to the top.
And I love that phrase, if it's a fluid, he's running red lines. And so you guys are into brake fluid as well.
Yeah, have you ever been to Pikes Peak?
I've not had the pleasure yet, but
that
has got to be tough. And Scott was such a great guy. We talked to him, I found him at display and we're yakking, and just such a nice guy, as humble as he could be, but he's got one serious truck, brother.
Yeah, he does, and this year we really ventured into new territory. We got a great partner in James Clay at Bimmer World, and if you're in the BMW road race world, everybody knows about Bimmer World, and so we work with James this year, because they are getting so incredibly refined and so sophisticated. Cool. It's like Scott said, it's like three different worlds. Yeah. And so they really started struggling with things like shock fluid, because the temperature difference in ambient at the start versus the end. And so we have been developing a new shock fluid, that works in that. And James Clay has been a huge driving force behind that. We're actually working with some new coolants with James Clay in the BMW side of things. And so yeah, it's so crazy, because it's kind of like Speed Week in Salt Flats. It's like, everybody knows about it and thinks it's cool, and it's just like Pikes Peak. Everybody kind of knows about it. It's cool, but it's one of those deals where it's like you have to experience that, because
it's kind of like the SEMA show.
The effort and the engineering. When I was talking with James Clay and I watched them build that BMW that they did, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is like Formula One all over the place, and just to go climb a mountain and stuff. So
viewers know, but we like to have different facets of our featured guests. So we got a few picks coming up, I think, and yours truly.
It's gonna hurt.
Look at you up on stage taking care of business. What's all this about?
That's at the NMCA, the Redline Oil NMCA banquet last year.
Beautiful.
Steve Wilcox and the guys at the NMCA are just phenomenal and stuff. And so we're really proud to be associated with them and to help them out. we're jumping in with the PDRA in 2 weeks. The title race down in South Carolina. It's the Red Line Oil Nationals for the PDRA. So it's plenty cool. But yeah, that was the PRI show at the NMCA banquet last year.
Beautiful.
Yeah. there I am with Miss Taylor Vetter. Taylor and her boyfriend Nick. Nick just sold his alcohol funny car. Now he's jumped into the pro mod ranks and stuff. But this was last year at the PRI show with Miss Taylor. Just one of many racers that stopped by the PRI booth and say hi.
Absolutely. And so, and the Nitro Revival, and you guys, you were instrumental in what happened here in Vegas as well. Thank you so much. That was very, very cool, brother.
Yeah, it's the American Funny Car Legend guys. We bumped into them, last year, first of last year or whatever. And I got to be honest with you, they have really become personal friends, and they're just great guys. And then this gave me the wonderful opportunity to start working again with Steve Gibbs. Like I said, I worked with Steve in the museum, and then this is kind of Steve's baby, and so it's and so we love working with Steve, and like I said, that Nostalgia Funny Car Series deal is man, that's a fan favorite. People really dig that.
I love it because before we talk about Wes, I was in the pits. Well, there's Corey McClinton. He was racing. He goes, Mike, you kept your hair, but why is it white? Now for the viewers, if you haven't checked out Drag Illustrated, amazing publication. And then Wes Buck, he's got his own podcast, correct?
Yeah, that's he does his own podcast every Wednesday, and Mike, it's like we talked about before. It's just one of those relationships, with Wes. Wes is, we're talking because they just announced their big nitro race at the beginning of next year. What is it, $125,000 to win, or something like that. So it's invitational only deal, and the guys are getting beat on like there's no tomorrow, because anytime you try and do something new or unique. And so I was talking to Wes and Mike and JT and Nate, and said, guys, just got to remember the old saying, the first ones through the wall always get bloody.
That's it.
It's stuff. And so, they're just trying to do things to keep our sport alive. But just like all of this matters, right? And that's what sometimes people don't understand. It's just like, not everything we touch sets the world on fire, but a high tide rises all boats. And so every bucket we pour in there, it all helps. And so
moves the needle a little bit. I think we got one more video here. And it kind of summarizes, I think, the philosophy of what Redline is all about. Hit that, buddy.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
And Cannon, I think we could probably put that on the top of your resume, sir, that you have pushed it to the limit as well. It's very successful. We've got a contact slide coming up. Could you kind of walk us through that quickly? Just how people can learn all this great stuff about Redline oil.
Yeah, no worries. Obviously, our website, redlineoil.com. I'll share this with you first. This is breaking news. So how cool is that? But as of this morning, if you go to redlineoil.com and if you go to the bottom of the page, there's a little button down at the bottom that says sponsorships. I just opened up the 2024 application process right before we went on with you guys and stuff. So if you're interested in being a part of Team Redline Oil, We have a few different levels of things that we work on and stuff like that. I'm one of those guys that I walk with people before we run, but fill out the application on that. Obviously, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We're at all those places and stuff. But.
And for the viewers, having a sponsor like Redline, what a difference it can make for your race team, right? So you get the different sponsor, and then it makes that lift quite not so heavy to go out and compete every weekend successfully.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It makes it, I just want people to feel like they're a part of something. It's this whole deal is bigger than me. It's bigger than, it's we're all a part of, just like you. I mean, it's just when you start, I'm going to turn the tables on you now. It's just like when you started this show, was your thought on starting this show was, oh, well, that's a good way to get my face out there every week.
Absolutely.
My guess is not. My guess is not. So yeah, what's your reason behind this show? To help the sport, to help people?
Yes, exactly. And get the word out, introduce new people, get viewers hooked to what's going on and this amazing car culture. And one of my personal favorites is NHRA, and I'm a diehard Mopar Hemi guy. So, we're just we're kind of doomed, but you're absolutely correct. And so a viewer looks at it and they go, wow, I hadn't thought about that. Let me learn more. Woohoo! Junior dragster. What a great way to get the use, of Joe Pishy would say, right? My cousin Vinny, get him involved in racing. And you're going to, and like I used to tell him in the tire, hey, here's the news flash. Mom and dad are kind of smart, and now you got another way for them to help you. We're going to jump off because the viewers, I'm highly confident Mark could cancel the rest of his meetings for today. I'll let Rick know it's okay. It's like 3 hours from now. We're still going to be going at this, having a lot of fun, and we probably won't talk about the same thing twice.
Yeah, you're probably
we will have
right.
to do a part 2 at some point, not too far in the future. Mark and Redline Oil, brother, we cannot thank you enough for fitting in your dance card to be with us. I know you are extremely busy all the time, but I also know we're going to be seeing you soon. If nothing else, we'll definitely see you at the SEMA show.
See you at the SEMA show, my friend. Thanks, everybody.
Brother. All right, thank you, and God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this week's episode. Mark Beatty, Redline Oil. You got to check out everything they got going on. They can lubricate your life, or at least your car. And until next time, enjoy the ride.